Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. We have two special guests today, Maria and Karoline of the Bruins Tape to Tape podcast. Welcome, ladies. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
We're
Thanks.
doing great. Thank you for having us. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Like I said, this is a big undertaking of mine, dude. So if you're new to this, we're doing a podcast every day for the rest of the year. It's gonna be Christmas. It's gonna be Thanksgiving. We're figuring it out, And so, like I said, we're more happy to have some phenomenal, good Atlantic Division rivals on here. And like I said, they listened to their podcast earlier today. If you haven't gone check it out, go check out Bruins Tape to Tape. It's on YouTube. I think you guys are available on Apple, Spotify, I assume, a bunch of different places. Yep. So absolutely go check them out. So just kind of jump into it. I want to ask you some things about the Bruins because there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that happen. I mean, you guys fired your coach.
News. Yeah, not for
this
the
is
right
very
reasons.
timely. Yeah. Very timely. Like we planned this, probably about a week or two ago. Yeah. And then, of course, the biggest news of all drops the day before this conversation.
Yeah. Which I think the nice thing is that I got to listen to you guys' last conversation. And it was raw emotion. And it was like, yes. Like that's what I wanted. Like I want neurotic fandom, because that's the fan is short for fanatic, and there's a reason that I'm doing this podcast. There's a reason you're doing your own podcast, and this is why the reason we're crossing over is because we're huge fans of our podcast, of the team. And I mean, I got memorabilia up here. I got sticks, pucks. I mean, I got jerseys. This jersey was given to me by my neighbor. It's 25 plus years old. Like it's and I got a Shanahan one too. So my wife got Shanahan. Eisman's my favorite player ever. So I was like, honey, I love you. You're not getting the Eisman jersey. So I was like, so let's start with an easy softball question. Maria, who's your favorite player, past and present, on the Bruins?
Okay, so past. I don't know if you can see the wall behind me, but there's a young man whose name was Robert Gordon Orr.
Oh.
Who, in my view, Bobby. Is the GOAT.
Oh,
is the GOAT.
Cal McCarthy has something to say against that.
Yeah, I have a 1A and a 1B.
Okay.
And my 1B is Patrice Bergeron. And if I'm asked currently, despite what is going on right now with our Boston Bruins, I would say that the most lovable, hateable rat in hockey right now is my present favorite Bruin.
Okay. So you got
that would be Brad Marchand, folks.
Of course.
In case you don't know, when I made reference to the rat.
Absolutely.
You know who I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was the rat before the Panthers started throwing on the ice. So like I said, he's the guy that you hate, but if he's on your team, you love.
And you know what? I like that you admit that, because a lot of people, play this bullshit game of saying, I would never have him on my team. I would never root for him. You're a liar. Yep. You're a liar.
Yep. We're sitting with Patrick Kane. I mean, come on. Red Wings have Patrick Kane, Chicago, amazing star. I mean, who would have thought? If you look at go back 10 years and you're listening to you have Tarasenko, you have Kane, you have all these people. You're like, what's happening? Right. So again, we'll go with Karoline. Is it Karoline or Karoline?
Karoline.
Karoline.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you went with that song choice and not the default one, because the other one I've heard way too many times in my life.
What's the default one?
Sweet Caroline.
Oh,
dude, no, you're Karoline with a K.
No.
I'm my own thing.
My wife and I had a do not playlist, and it was Don't Stop Believing, Freebird. This is all wedding stuff. No, no Journey, no Piano Man. We're just. I wish I want Backstreet Boys and Fall Out Boy, Instinct. Let's get my, So, anyways, let's go with Karoline. Let's go with your team.
See, so that's really hard for me, because when I was growing up, first of all, the Bruins were not a great team. And then also, I'm not originally from New England. I'm a fellow Lakes region person. I'm assuming, do you live in Michigan? So there you go. So I grew up on Lake Ontario. And so the two channels that we had to watch hockey were CBC and Fox Sports New York. So I actually grew up watching the Devils in the mid to late 90s. So listening to Chico and Doc Emmerich. So my original is non-Bruin, but I feel like it's a respectable choice of all time, Martin Brodeur.
Great.
Because again, I feel like Maria has claim over Bobby Orr, and I will respect that claim.
That's fine. That's fine.
For like the all-time greatest.
I'll fight you to the death.
Oh,
By all means.
I'll fight you on Brodeur. I got a hot take on Brodeur in a second. So
A lot of people do. I know. I know people's hot takes on him.
No, to me, he's of Waugh, Brodeur, and Hasek, he's third.
Oh, see, I know, because either people agree with me or they're like, no, he's third. But anyways, so my favorite player right now, and probably arguably really favorite player, non-goalie, because that's a whole separate kettle of fish.
Oh, I agree.
Brad Marchand, through and through.
Yep.
Well, that's my Coil jersey, but that's it. I got my little ball of hate jersey over there in the corner, and he's been my favorite for a real long time. And can't ever go wrong with him.
Him, like Larkin, embodies Bruins hockey. Like it's just he does a great job. Again, little ball of hate, which is because the thing is, we talk about this is in hockey, you can be big but play small. We saw that with Pierre Engvall of the New York Islanders, got sent down. He's 6'7". And he doesn't use his body. Yeah. But you have guys like, and as a Red Wings fan, we're seeing that with DeBrincat, 5'2", basically. And he plays big. He fought Yeoman Rossi last year. I'm like, you take on like you gotta be a little crazy, right? And like that's what Brad Marchand does. He plays big. Yeah. So absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's my Bruins goat. And then
and all the other nonsense aside, with the suspensions and the fines and that just trying to grow and develop and figure out the right way to play without losing your identity, he has built himself into one of the elite forwards in the NHL. There's a reason, there's a reason he's been selected to Olympic teams and to represent Team Canada again in the Four Nations tournament. He's now wearing the C for an original 6 hockey team. And this is a guy where when training camp started, how many years ago, we're like, who the hell is this kid? Yeah. Right. Yeah. He started off
third rounder, right?
And as a fourth line player, and within a relatively short period of time had elevated himself on a line with Patrice Bergeron. And we all know what that tandem did together for years. So
absolutely.
Well, we know there's something in the water in that part of Nova Scotia because of all the truly phenomenal hockey players that have come out of there. Sid, is Cale Makar from there, or am I getting him confused?
He went to St. Mary's as well, but so I mean,
so many good players from there.
That is one I'm less versed on is the lower parts. I'm still learning those. Like I'm getting more on the ECHLs. Like junior hockey, I'm still super new. But we have the Flint Firebirds over here. So I live like 30 minutes from Flint. So we get Flint Firebirds. We have the Sault Ste. Marie Grey Dogs. And then so we have Sarnia's right around here as well. Windsor Spitfire. So like we have a lot of junior hockey. I just haven't been to a lot because it's just haven't yet. So because we're the Red Wings, I just like I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to the big club, right?
Right. So, I mean, this is not meant to be an insult whatsoever, but tickets are probably also not an arm and a leg to go see Detroit play.
No, it is not. No, it is not crazy. No, like I mean, you can get like I mean.
And we mean that in an envious way.
Yes, we are jealous.
Okay.
Well, that's what happens when you have a team that still isn't good yet. That's the issue.
It will be though.
Totally.
Of the two of us, I think Maria does a really, really good job of going into the weeds about a lot of the things that are happening for the Boston Bruins because she's practically a celebrity in the sports radio circuit in
That's
Boston.
amazing.
She calls them all in, and they all know her. And so
royalty over here, Boston royalty.
So like I've taken it as my responsibility to kind of just keep a casual pulse on what's happening around the league. So I'm the one who listens to 32 Thoughts and sometimes some of the Athletic Hockey Pod stuff, because I'm just curious about what's happening. And it is pertinent to the Bruins because we like to be educated and informed on who's coming into town, what's the tea, like I know you guys might be in the market for a new coach. So can I offer you an alternative bald white man?
Another
bald white
man. For that name to get dropped when it came to the Detroit Red Wings, maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's gonna get a job. I mean, he's going to get a job.
So to give you a quick snippet of my perspective, and this is not Detroit perspective, this is my perspective. Red Wings are still in the rebuild. I know they had a hot reach. They almost made the playoffs, but to me, Yzerman has had 5 guys that he's drafted on the team now. That's it. Everything else is free agents or like so. Larkin, it's Raymond, Seider, Edvinsson, Albert Johansson, and Casper.
Does that sound familiar to you? That playbook?
Yeah.
Not kind of building with trying to build with proven talent in the league. Well,
and that's
strategy. What can I say?
Well, and Boston's desirable. The thing is, Boston's desirable. You could have most free agents. It's a hockey market. You're a celebrity there. Boston sports in general, you're a celebrity. So like, it's not like somewhere like Columbus where you can make the money, but you're kind of unknown, or even LA where there's the LA Lakers, the Clippers, the Rams, the Chargers. Like, your hockey is a minor league sport in LA. Boston, you're known. I mean, you put Brad Marchand on a billboard, right? And you sell ads there. So
pros and cons.
I
think probably the Boston sports media market is probably the second most difficult one to exist in as a Boston Bruin player. Second only to Toronto, because like those people are insane. I don't even think it's that crazy in New York because of New York City. Just so much is happening. Like it's
you have other teams, you have Giants, Jets. You have the Island, even another hockey
everything's
team there, right?
big in New York. So
I would say,
there's a lot of noise.
I would say there's some of the hardest ones and as an outside perspective. I don't think it's as hard to be a Detroit fan or Detroit player. I think it's Vancouver, because you don't have Vancouver and Montreal, there's nothing else there. And then at Edmonton, there's nothing else there.
Right.
Winnipeg be difficult, and these are just because there's nothing. Well, it's Canada, but it's also nothing like Edmonton rallies around the Oilers because what else is there to do? At least Winnipeg has the Blue Bombers, I think they're called. And they have it's a CFL team. So like you have something else. Like here at Red Wings, we have the Lions are doing phenomenal, right?
Oh my God.
Like Tigers went to the second round this past year, out of nowhere, right? So, and then Pistons. We don't talk about Pistons, but they're also on the up and coming. The problem is you have 3 rebuilding teams in Detroit, and they have the Lions, so the hottest team in America. So, and that's not argument. That's just fact at this point. So, but
I'll trust you guys. I don't watch football, so sure.
My wife is so into football now. It is crazy.
Oh, yeah?
She's huge in the Lions. I bought a bunch of Lions for her birthday in September, and I got her a blanket, slippers, shoes, all sweatshirts, shirts, and she's obsessed right now. So I'm a Lions fan now.
There you go.
I was told not to.
The Lions, I know this is not a football podcast, but the Lions are kicking ass. And when I tell you kicking ass, they are winning games like 52-10. I mean, didn't they just put up 60 points last Sunday?
It wasn't. It was 52-6 against.
It's lunacy. It's lunacy.
This is the second time they put up 52 points, and one other time they put up 49 points. Like they're just they're just smoking teams. So it's phenomenal. But again, we'll talk about.
We're digressing.
Yeah. So this is you fire Monty. Is that the right move? Because to me, as an outsider, I would say Boston has phenomenal culture, but it's not Monty's fault. It's Neely's fault as an outsider. So because I think that management has been around a long time, and
good take. Because glad you got the message.
This management is on a third coach. At some point, it's not the coach's fault, and I understand you lose the room, but I don't know. You want to kind of give me a little more explanation on what your perspectives are?
So my initial reaction, I was really sad. I think we've done a pretty good job, Maria and I, when we host our podcast. You know, Boston fans can be really passionate and ready to set things on fire immediately if they lose 2 games in a row. We try not to be those fans. And I know, and I'm sure Maria agrees, but firing the coach is a crappy thing that has to get done. And it's a very common business tactic in hockey that really sucks. And so like a coach will lose his job really for just a couple of reasons, right? Like he's bad at his job, or the team quits on him. And that's often the first scapegoat, so to speak.
Of course.
So
it's easy because you can't ship out a whole team.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so, you know, I don't think that we were really calling for, I mean, I never called for his firing. Like
we did not. We did not.
And there's certainly plenty of fans and, you know, other shows out there and radio personalities who are like, he's got to go. It's like blaming him. We never once called for his firing. Because I think if you paid attention even just a little bit, I mean, I'm the hockey crazy person in the house. My husband is a casual hockey fan. Like we've got it on the TV. And when I told him the news last night, he's like, I understand that. Right. Like you have to understand, like the players really ultimately first and foremost let Monty down. And
agree.
Probably completely. Up until about 2 weeks ago, I was like, I don't want, can we not? I don't think it's not his fault. And then I can't remember the exact game now, but I remember watching a game and thinking, oh no, now he's flailing because he doesn't know what else to do. He was in an impossible situation. And that's when the coaching choices started to be not great. And I don't blame him for that either, because I think he was literally trying to throw everything that he had at the problem. And then it got worse. And that's when you just knew we were like, it's going to happen. I thought for sure it was going to happen.
We actually
after the game in Carolina at Halloween.
We did.
There were 2 other times.
And back.
There was another time, Maria, you were saying, with Bridget from the skate pod at WEI, they had to leave like an event because they thought it was going to happen and it didn't happen. I think it was like the weekend before. And then the timing kind of thing. Also, they've got 2 days off. They're still at home before I think they go on the road. So when it happened, it was just one of those like that's all that could happen. But I'm glad, I'll say as a sidebar, from watching all these things on social media and even hearing from you as an outsider, I'm actually really pleased to hear more outsider folks looking at this situation and actually pointing fingers at Don and Cam. Because as Maria knows, and as our listeners know, I do not care for Cam Neely whatsoever. I think he is a snake. I think he is sneaky. I think he throws people under the bus. I do not care for how he runs this team and his approach to business. And whatever happened this time around, it's apparently obvious to outsiders that maybe he and Don are the problem. But it's
not a small sample size now.
Right. We lay this at the feet of the players first and foremost.
Yes.
Do a better job. was there a level of complacency that really started to sink in? There were a ton of guys who had career years last year. Maybe they went into camp thinking, well, I don't have to do that extra set, or he's going to figure it out. I'm not going to, peer pressure him to do more, or the players will figure it out. They've been doing this a long time. And so there certainly was that level of complacency, I think. But we've also talked on our pod that training camp was mishandled. There was a lot of things that were mishandled and likely came from higher up too. It's our perspective.
Okay.
I don't know, Maria, what about you?
Maria, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on your perspective?
Where do I begin? So I'll begin by saying that despite the fact that I was not a fan of the Jim Montgomery hiring, and more so because I was really pissed off at the players who got Bruce Cassidy fired.
Great coach.
Yeah. So, and maybe I was jaded for that, but I'll say, okay, you guys wanted a player's coach. You got a player's coach.
Yep.
And his message for the first 2 years of his tenure seemed to be resonating well because they played out of their minds during one of those 2 years.
Yep.
They had the best season ever in the NHL.
Absolutely.
Okay? Fell short of the playoffs. I myself said, this is why I was not a fan of hiring this gentleman, because of some missteps, big missteps during decisions that he made during playoff series that I think had an impact on the results of those playoffs. Okay, fine. We go into this season and, we're all scratching our heads going, wait a minute. Monty's coming up. We're not hearing anything at all. Nothing. Not a word about contract extensions. Now then we thought, well, maybe a lot of that is due to the Jeremy Swayman drama. Okay, fine. We get that resolved and we're all thinking, surely we're going to hear something about an extension for this coach.
Yep.
And then we see how this season starts rolling and how were there some coaching missteps? Yes, I do think that preseason was not handled well at all.
Totally
and
bungled.
It seems like some practices were not.
Can you elaborate for people who aren't Bruins fans? Can you give a quick examples of what? Because what do you mean with preseason? Did they lose every preseason game? Is it wrong lineup changes?
No, it was more. It was more like they used preseason as virtual tryouts for some of the younger players. So they were so much more focused on trying to see what they had in these younger players to see if they could perhaps fill some voids that they thought they had, and also push them to say, listen, we've got these guys that we picked up in free agency here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But nothing's written in stone. So you guys have a fair shot at making the big boy roster.
Yeah.
So there was no push there for the veteran players. It was almost like they were virtual captains practices, So, and then
they hardly even played in the preseason games themselves. I mean, and that was the other thing that was a bit of a surprise, besides the fact that training camp seemed like an extension of rookie camp. Not only because of the sheer number of guys who made it into training camp. And, this is not me saying like they didn't deserve to be there, but like it was more than we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
But then, I'm sitting and watching these games, and it's no surprise that, the first preseason game, you're going to have pretty much all but maybe one or two of the returning players participate. And then what were they? Maybe six games, right, Maria?
Yes.
I was expecting, okay, by game 2, we're going to see like 25 to 30% of the team. And by game like 3, we should be seeing the team.
Yeah.
And
By
there
game
was
3,
not.
like, by game 4, 5, 6, like, it should be the team. You should be getting organized. Like, yeah.
Right.
And when you have a lot of new guys, and some of these new guys, were definitely not going anywhere. Certainly some of the trade ones, right? Like Max Jones and Mark Kastelic and,
Andrew Peak was last year at the trade deadline, so
they could have maybe been questionable if they were actually going to make the lineup. But like Elias Lindholm, there's no question he was in the lineup, right? Nikita Zadorov, he was in the lineup.
Yeah.
And when you've got such huge guys coming in, you need to form your team.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not the focus of preseason at all. And that was a huge mistake.
I think it was, and I poked around and watched some other preseason games, and I'm like, wait a minute, the Washington Capitals have a bunch of their starters in, preseason game, whatever, say, 3 or 4. I'm like, what are our guys doing? Like, what the hell is going on here? There were also some concerns around conditioning and maybe the lack of conditioning.
Okay.
By some of the players. Now, granted, Brad Marchand had some things cleaned up. I mean, we heard that, he had like 3 surgeries before training camp. Even surprise.
I think I remember that. Yeah. Hearing about that.
Training, and then we find out about kind of a mystery injury that David Pastrnak suffered.
But maybe not, because we don't really know. Because we
don't really know. So we're like,
no one says anything in the NHL. It's upper body.
Right,
is it an elbow or is it a rib?
Like all of these things start like, what? This is weird. This sounds like really disjointed. This doesn't sound like, the well-oiled Boston Bruins machine that we've known for years and years and years. And then you see them get off to a bit of a slow start. And, so we say, all right, we're spoiled. The last 2 years, they came out of the gates like thoroughbred racehorses and never really looked back. This might be normal. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a chill pill.
We're spoiled as Boston fans. Maybe it's just, maybe this is the reality. This is what other teams deal with.
I know.
Right. Not the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, no. Who've been good they've been good as long as I can remember. I mean, they've been so good. I mean, and I come from a Red Wings team who had a 26-year playoff run. Like, I was born in 1990, and from then till I was 26, it was just playoffs. So it was amazing. So
and that's a rarity today because of the cap and the new CBA, and after all that lockout, and we talk a lot about the parity in this league, which is like great for the game of hockey, but what you end up not seeing is dynasties anymore, right? You may see a dynasty for about maybe 5 years, like a real one. Like I'm thinking of Tampa
like
Bay,
the Blackhawks, or even the
Blackhawks.
Yep.
And I would
argue everyone pays a price for that. That's
right.
Pittsburgh
is a yard sale.
Look at Pittsburgh right now. They had a 16-17 cup, and now they're flailing.
Right.
I mean, the Blackhawks are still trying to rebuild from the last cup they won with, Kane, Taves, and no, whose name is escaping
Seabrook, Duncan,
right? Duncan, right.
And I think
Marian Hossa. I mean,
Oh, don't hurt me with Marian Hossa. Goodness gracious.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. He just leaves and wins a cup somewhere else.
So there were things that were happening where that song, things that make you go and then you're watching the level of play that we're seeing on the ice, and the lack of a defensive structure, the lack of being strong on the pucks, the lack of forechecking. I mean, really, for a while there, I swear to God, the only player that was actually forechecking to start the season was Pavel Zacha. And he was like a madman on the forecheck. Yeah.
But he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Right.
He's not a 1C. Like, he's like Zacha.
No, he's not. Right.
He's not.
And therein lies a problem right there. Because over the course of the summer, the Bruins, everybody in the league knows the Bruins have a need that they need to fill, right? You don't have Patrice Bergeron anymore. You're not going to find another Patrice Bergeron.
You know, Krejci, you're
right,
out.
right,
I mean,
right.
it's tough.
And you're sick and tired of getting your ass kicked by the Florida Panthers because, right?
Preach.
All right. You're
Sometimes
sick and tired of it. So you decide that you got to pick and choose your priorities, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
You go after Elias Lindholm, you go after Nikita Zadorov, and you land your two big fish free agents while you still have a glaring hole at your center position that you projected you would be able to still fill by the likes of Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha because they had extraordinary years the last 2 years. That has not come to fruition.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so,
I think me personally, I said this in our podcast last night, there's something not right with the DNA of this group. You can push some of it on coaching. Yes. Did I want the coach fired? No, but I understand why.
The business.
Because that's your only option if you're trying to send a message to your players. What I don't like is this is becoming a common recurrence with this tandem of Don Sweeney and Cam Neely, where you're capitulating to players. You're leaving these coaches dangling because you don't want any stink on your hands when you let them go and you're able to skate. Well, the free ride is over for them.
So do you think I know nothing of Joe Sacco, so I don't know if how familiar you two are with him, but to me the way I see it is third coach Cam Neely and Sweeney. If this season doesn't work out, if there's not a turnaround here, to me that's a hot seat for them at this point, right? Because you're going to start, you have an interim coach, and then they're going to get an opportunity to hire another coach, and then or keep Joe Sacco. Or keep him, and then you try him again next year, and it's like, well, maybe that doesn't work out then. It's like, well, then you let go of upper management, but you keep the coach. It just there's kind of a cluster there because you're not going to extend a guy that you might not keep because a coach is going to sign on for at least 3 years,
right?
And would you want to put that responsibility on Sweeney and Neely when they're on their third try?
No, I don't. I don't. The answer to that is very simple. No,
it's 4 coaches in a decade. Because Joe's their fourth.
And mind you,
he's their
very
fourth.
good coaches. Very good coaches.
Yep. Look at Cassidy wouldn't want a Stanley Cup.
I heard you last night, and I'm like, what? It's mind-boggling that one organization has dismissed Jack Adams winning coaches.
Yes, absolutely.
And, I think people have forgotten, because this hasn't come up in a while, so we have a Discord group and we chat a lot on there, and just even seeing things on social media. For a really long time, probably right before Monty was hired, nobody loved Don Sweeney. Don Sweeney was always persona non grata, especially because of the notorious 2015 draft season.
Oh my goodness.
Where he just did a terrible job. And I believe there is no one left, right, Maria? Because with
Zach Senyshyn's gone.
Jake DeBrusk.
DeBrusk is gone. And then I forgot the other one. But
we have nothing to show.
Yep. Not even assets, not even picks or anything because you let DeBrusk walk. So you didn't get any picks for them. So
they shouldn't have. As much as a complicated relationship that Jake DeBrusk had with the city of Boston, we I think it was before free agency, we had a conversation about the guys who were going into free agency and likely to get lost. And I think like with someone like with Jake DeBrusk, I think this idea of you must be this prolific goal scorer, like this mantle was put on him. And maybe that wasn't really ever supposed to be his job. I like to use the analogy that a hockey team is like a workplace because that's the job, right? And everybody has a role to play. And for I think a really long time, there was the expectation, no, you have to be, the top scorer. And then there was the conflict that he had with Bruce Cassidy, and like that noise got in the way. And then all of a sudden he kind of, came out of the gates and was this great scorer. But last year he wasn't scoring. And so everybody was like, oh, we got to get rid of him. But I think a player like him, like there's nobody on this team right now who is even close to filling the role that he filled last year, which is first and foremost his speed. He was fast guy. But then also his playmaking and the ways that he contributed on the ice without having to score a goal. Like there's no background players anymore to get the puck to where it needs to go. And I think that was a mistake on the part of Don Sweeney. And I think between him and Cam, they've got one more shot. They have to figure out the trades well this year. And if the
frozen.
Oh no.
There you go. There you go. I wasn't sure it was I started closing stuff on my side. I'm like, that
was weird.
Wait, yeah. It's a little fuzzy on your side, so.
But yeah, he's got to get he's got to get his trades in order.
Yeah.
Or he might lose his job if the team continues to stink.
And we misspoke about the 2015 draft because I just looked it up. We still have Brandon Carlo. Other than that,
that's right. I knew there was another one. I knew it.
Everyone else is bye-bye.
What round was he?
Yep.
Second or third, probably.
Here we go.
And up until Monty came along, Brandon Carlo was terrible, and he was on my chopping block. Him and
second round pick and 27th overall, or
37th overall, second round pick. But everyone else is basically, there's no one left from that draft.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Okay, so I mean, because I'm looking at the Boston lineup, and I see when you used to look at Boston, it was Boston guys were tough and high skill, and I feel like you get guys like Justin Brazeau comes out of nowhere, great pickup. I thought it was a great AHL guy. Because of course comes out of the Toronto system. You guys just taking from Toronto, just taking all the. I mean, you take Rat
from them all day, every day.
Toronto's just the gift that keeps on giving to the Boston Bruins.
I know. You guys just. I know. Like I listen to Steve Dangle podcast, and it's it cracks. They crack me up, dude. Because
a Toronto loss is as good as a Bruins win in our book.
Oh, I love that. So, but I would say so because I'm looking at your lineup and everything, and some of these guys I'm just I'm lost on. Like, who's Georgi Merkulov? Like,
he's a prospect. I mean, not a prospect. He's an AHLer.
Cole Koepke. Like
Cole Koepke. He's great.
I'm like, and also like, what made you think that you guys can make Andrew Peeke work? That's like, he didn't work. He hasn't worked anywhere, and it seems to work out. He worked out last year. Like, and I was like, I think you guys got to trade a third round. Huh?
I mean, he's okay, but like to your point, he was a trade acquisition, and he still had time on his contract.
He's 2 years left, I think. So
2 years. I don't know what he was supposed to do. Like he's good, he's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
but some of it is, when you have a limited budget and you're playing cap roulette, in a lot of instances, you need to pick up, these and I hate to diminish what they do, but secondary type players. This is why you go out and you get a James Van Riemsdyk.
Yep.
God, I can't even talk right now. Patty Maroon, an Andrew Peak, because you don't have the affordability of going out and trying to land a big fish. This summer, we were all salivating because, the rumors had already started circulating about the Bruins targeting Elias Lindholm. And at one point, we thought that they were going to be able to pull a trade to get Elias Lindholm here. And some of it was going to be precipitated on being able to move Linus Ullmark at the trade deadline. He politely declined, right? Because he didn't want to uproot his family in the middle of a season. In the middle of a season. And that was his right to do that because he had a no movement clause, right? And then all of a sudden, everyone's like vilifying poor Linus Ullmark for something that the Boston Bruins gave him. If you're going to vilify anybody, vilify friggin' management. They're the ones that hand out these no movement clauses.
Like candy.
Like Tic Tac.
Dude, get out. You're talk to me about the Red Wings in that case. So everyone's like, why'd you guys move Olli Mata? It's like,
Jesus.
Like it's like, this is, and I try and, so I like the dollars and figures. So in my head, I always thought of like a no movement clause is worth about $1 million a year. That's kind of where I'm like, so like, okay, so you're either, that's how I kind of just rationalize it. It's either that or you're a franchise player, right? Like, I mean, like you're either, because again, Leon Draisaitl probably could have got 15 or 16 if he didn't have a no moving clause, right? But like those are the types of, I try and quantify these things, what makes sense or what, or what earns you the respect or and all that stuff.
And that no movement clause has value to the player.
Absolutely.
It affords them the security that they want so that they know they're not going to, in between periods of a game, right? Find out on social media, hey, I just got dealt to another team.
Isn't that how Mark Kastelic? Mark Kastelic, I think, found out that way.
Dude, Vezina Trophy winner Marc-Andre Fleury found out on Twitter. Like, getting traded from Vegas Golden Knights to the Chicago Blackhawks.
That's a great example. They did him dirty. That Vegas Golden Knights franchise did him dirty. So, I'm not going to kill Sweeney yet because I was fine with the off-season moves that he made, right? Yeah. Because he was filling some voids and understanding that we had to prioritize those voids. What I found really aggravating me personally, and Karoline kept telling me, just trust the process, be patient, was the Jeremy Swayman situation.
Oh,
why that wasn't
hard to watch.
Order of business number one.
Absolutely.
And I put that on.
You want to talk about a royal screw up? You want to talk about
that on Cam?
Yeah. How do you not lock up your goaltender before trading? Like, because you have 2 number 1 goaltenders, and I understand why you traded one. I get it. Swayman's the future. Totally get that. But how do you not lock him up and then move Ullmark? That was crazy to me, honestly.
What was even more baffling is the fact that they should never have been surprised that it was going to go this way, because he took them to arbitration the year before.
We saw that with Bertuzzi, so I totally hear you. Yeah.
So so you shouldn't be surprised that he's gonna put up a stink, as is his right.
Yeah.
And regardless of how people feel about the amount of money that he got, I mean, I'm for it. I know there are fans out there who are like, no, that was too much.
He's worth it. Completely worth it.
I think he's worth it. Because it's only going to get to be a better deal for us.
Exactly.
The longer in it goes. Regardless, like, you stood up there multiple times and said to us, Don, Cam, presumably through Don, that this was your number 1 priority. So do it.
Yeah.
And we in general on our podcast do not trust anything that
Mhm.
ever comes out of Cam's mouth when it comes to, free agency conversations and contract stuff, because we have literally seen him lie about that before.
Mhm.
Corey Krug. There are more.
That one was tough to watch. That was a bummer.
They never even made him an offer.
See,
They never even made.
And then he comes out and says, "Oh, well, we offered him 6, and he took the deal for 6.5 in St. Louis." And I remember thinking, "What? This was a $500,000 difference?
Yeah,
you're really gonna be a stinker on that?"
I mean, you're. So, do you think that is a?
I mean, we lucked out.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, at least this year, yeah, right.
It's happened for a reason, but and again, that is an instance where,
or the Mitchell situation.
I was fine,
or how they fired Cassidy.
But
I could go on.
It's how you do
I
things.
don't love.
It's
I
how
do not
you
like
do
him
things.
really.
Yeah, no. It's how you do things, and
right.
There's shady shit.
Yep.
That goes on with that management tandem, and they are joined at the hip. We've now come to that realization. This has been a realization that Boston Bruins fans have had to come to for, a relative handful of years now. And at this point in time, now in my view, you've exhausted all of your get out of jail free cards with this last misstep that you've made with yet another coach and another negotiation that, you think you're going to have the upper hand in just because you're the Boston Bruins, just because other players have played nice in the sandbox and capitulated to the fact that, okay, all right, we're going to take a little bit less money because this is where we like playing. They have a standard, or they have a chart in their office that gives them what they think the value of a player is.
Yeah.
And
in
it's
a particular position.
Way under.
And it's usually below what the market value is. Yep. And I actually heard Cam Neely say this, and I believe it was during the negotiations with David Pastrnak, or as they were getting ready to negotiate with David Pastrnak. And there was all this speculation about, I can't even remember who it was that got a significant amount of money. And everyone was saying, okay, well, this guy just set the market. So David Pasternak's going to get his bag, right? Because this guy set the market. And I remember Cam Neely saying, just because a player sets the market doesn't mean that's the amount of money you're going to give them. So I thought,
and that's so shady.
Yeah.
Your
star forward, your 100-point a season forward, 40-goal scorer, like
he's going to break all of the goal scoring records in Boston's history. Like it's going to happen. He's not even 30. I mean, I remember distinctly reading, it was probably like an article on The Athletic or something somewhere, where they were talking about Pasta, and it wasn't even like, it wasn't a Bruins publication, right? It was like a hockey publication. So relatively unbiased, because it was talking about a bunch of guys who were coming up on contracts and whatever. And they were saying that they would find it reasonable. It would be on the high end, but reasonable that he should come away from a contract deal of $13 million.
Wow.
That is not what they paid him.
Well, so he signed in 2022 or 2023, because I think I have his Puck PD page up.
23, yeah. No, it was 23 because then I remember it was right at the All-Star break, and then I remember there were like rumors that Sway was going to get extended, and then they went to arbitration. So
was that before it was up, or was he using a final year, or did he have a year left? And I'm trying to
It
see.
was in the final year.
It was in the final
Yeah,
year.
March 2nd, going 2023.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so and this is even this is even probably a little. This is you're good. This is not post COVID, but it is. I mean, this is
kind of, sort of, right?
But it was
still recovering.
You already had guys like
right.
You already had McDavid, who was already making whatever
14 or just
yeah, he was making
12 and a half. Yeah.
I think when was Austin Matthews extended?
This past August, he had 13.4.
Right.
Sure.
But I think like whatever he was making before, he definitely took a team friendly deal. They've all taken team friendly deals. The current deal that Brad Marchand is on, team friendly. Patrice Bergeron, prior to his, old man contracts, team friendly deal. Like,
yeah,
that's what they do. And I don't know if they just play some sort of ridiculous hardball, like, especially when, they have families or whatever. And I mean, honestly, I wouldn't put it past them for doing something ridiculous like that. Like, well, you want to stay in Boston, and this is the deal that's going to keep you in Boston, right? Like, what shady practices is he up to? Because
right.
I understand staying in Boston, but like, you're in the Northeast. There's Rangers, Islanders, Jersey, Boston. Like, there's plenty of teams in that area. Like, even like Buffalo's not even that far away. Like, you're in that area.
Well, nobody wants to go to Buffalo.
I know. I hear you. It's just too close to Canada, anyway. So no. As a guy who lives, I literally was like in Canada like 3 weeks ago. Like, I'm like, yeah. So like, so I liked one thing when I think you had a gentleman on from your Discord.
Oh, yes.
And I thought that was interesting that he said, do you think because there's this culture that is a past culture of Brad Marchand and all everyone taking these discounts and everything. And I did not think Pastrnak was going to get much about that. I thought he was going to get like 8.5, 9 because of the standard set by the previous regime. It's like, hey, this is going to be our guy, set a cap ceiling essentially for the new generation. And we saw that with Larkin, which is why the Larkin one took so long, because we're like, Larkin is going to be our best player, and we got to set a cap. And that's why there was so much discussion, because it's like, hey, we want to give you enough money, but we also have to recognize that you are the top. And that's why Seider ended up not signing an 8-year deal. He signed a 7-year deal so that it would be under Larkin's. Because if it was above, he signed for Larkin's at 8.7 for 8 years. Seider, Calder winner, #1 defenseman, playing statistically the hardest minutes in the NHL. Like, him and Simon Evans have the hardest. They're being put against McDavid's, Crosby's, the McKinnons, and so Seider wanted, if it was going to be 8 years, it was going to be over Larkin's, and Eisman didn't want to do that. So Seider signs 8.5 by 7 years.
That's idiotic.
but I do get it. Like, I understand it, because I mean, if you think of it this way, Seider is 23 now. He'll be 30 when he finishes it.
Yeah.
So,
but it doesn't speak to the individual's actual talent in the here and now, right? Like, granted, I think did both of those contracts get signed in the same year?
No. Larkin was last year, and then DeBrincat was this past, or Seider was this year.
So, like, I mean, there's so many other factors, though, that for a GM to say, or a president to say, like, well, this is our top guy, and this is the max that we're going to pay for a top guy, right? But like, that's a snapshot in time. Like, with any kind of data, you have that. It's just from that one moment, right? Because then what happens? The cap goes up, cost of living goes up. Other players who maybe are actually better at their positions than that top guy is at his position come into the mix, right? Like, I get wanting to have like a
cap ceiling,
quantitative standard, but there are so many things that happen and go on around.
But who left the Tampa Bay Lightning in a pretty good position? Steve Yzerman. I mean, he left them he leaves them. They go win 2 cups. They're in 3 Stanley Cup finals. And then you're gonna, as a player, you're gonna try and argue with that, oh, you think I'm Steve Yzerman, you don't think I don't know what I'm talking about? Like, do you not think that I know how to build a contender? Like, do you not think, like, I mean, like, that's the position of power. Listen,
I know.
Heisman, third fastest player to 1,500 points, right? Like one of 7 players to ever have 1,500 points ever, right? So at the time that he did it. And so you're looking at this guy who is idolized, and they have a statue of him. Like, it's like, there's a reason.
He's ruthless. I'm scared of him.
Yeah,
Cam is a snake. Steve is terrifying.
Well, and Steve's not dishonest. He's just he'll let you sit in the silence, and he'll just and which is, and it's the bummer is that, like, no news gets out. Like, and if any news gets out, you don't ask hard questions, because it's like he'll give you the most long non-answer in the world.
Oh god.
You know, it's the most frustrating thing. Like, hey, they say, hey, what part of the rebuild are we in? And this and the time he goes, he's the summer, right? It's the draft, right? He's like, somewhere between year 3 and 4. And that's like literally when he was hired. Like, it was like hired like 3-4 years ago. Like, it's just, he's the most non-answer kind of guy. Like, it's so incredibly frustrating. But you're also kind of like, you kind of love it though, because you're like, man, nothing leaks out of this system, which is like, so you can hold pride on. So I understand it, because to me, Seider's the next captain. After it's going to be a Yzerman, Lidstrom type thing, where Lidstrom, if Yzerman got hurt, Lidstrom steps up, and Lidstrom was only captain for 6 years, because their careers were so, Yzerman and Lidstrom's careers were so close, and Lidstrom, again, captain for only 6 years, retired number. Like, that's how much of an impact this guy had, and Seider has that same capability of being a leader in the locker room, and I think. And by the way, when Larkin's contract is up, so is Seider's in the same year. So
because you just said they did 1 year left.
1 year different, yeah. So that is terrifying. And then the year after that, it's Raymond. So Raymond will be 30, and then Seider will be 31. I had those mixed up. Or no, they'll both be 30. Oh yeah, because they had a year difference, and Raymond's a year younger. So yeah, so they'll both be 30 at their contracts. But yeah, and Larkin will be, I think, 34 at the end of that. So again, it's gonna be a different type of deal and everything. But I think so. I have a hot take as well for you as Bruins fans, and by the way, I can talk about coaches, and I got plenty to talk about.
We digressed here a little bit.
I know.
We're still smarting from the aftermath of we knew it was an inevitability. What happened yesterday, we knew was an inevitability. It was just figuring out when it was,
not if, it's when.
Right. Not that we agreed with it. I think to some degree that sometimes lets players off the hook. And I have a problem with that, because I believe that there are numerous players on the roster right now that are underperforming and underachieving. And
so, would you say
have letters on their jerseys?
And they have letters on their jerseys.
I think you guys said stripped McAvoy of his assistant captaincy. I think one of you guys said.
Yeah.
But I heard that. Right. So who is the deserved leader of this group? So I'm seeing something that would happen with Toronto, where Tavares gives the captaincy to Austin Matthews, and to me, does it change the Toronto? Like,
it's not going to fix their ails.
It doesn't. But it's also, to me, it's a passer of, this is a new chapter. It kind of is a new chapter. It's not John's team. It's not
a passing of the torch.
So, and to me, Marchand's old guard, and which is fine, but the team is not the same as it used to be. Guys aren't taking the same deals. There's that. And I think, what was it? I think no one like really worked out or practiced until like Chara came in. Right. So like,
because he was a fitness freak.
That man is doing all these marathons. He just finished
an Ironman recently. Like,
right? No. He's running marathons.
Yeah. It's crazy. So to me, and I think Marchand was a product of the culture. I don't think he was the culture. So I'm saying, where you have Bergeron and Chara are your leaders that you look to, and Marchand learned from that, but it's almost like you know what to do, but you don't know why you do it. You don't like it. So there's the idea of like, it kind of comes from like the passion side. Like, I can know how to do my job. If I'm not really invested, and I like this passion to really move, like, I don't want to get up every day. Like, my wife's a teacher. and there's the what to do. There's you how to teach, but if you don't have the passion for teaching, it doesn't come across.
Different.
And to me, Marchand he's a great. It's almost like he's a great assistant captain. He's the hype guy. He's like you see him over there. This is what I'm talking about. Like he's the guy that pumps you guys up, and and that's great. And you need those guys. Bertuzzi was like that guy. He's like we're going forward, guys. When you need to speak loud, you can. But who is that? Who is that guy? Because to me, I don't know if it's Pasternak. I don't know.
There isn't one.
No.
There
I
isn't
can
one.
answer that.
Yeah,
they
right,
don't
right.
have it.
One.
It's
there
a
isn't one.
Like if you saw
one. There's no Nick Foligno.
Yep.
There's no Mark Recchi.
Yep.
There's no Sean Thornton. There's no Van Riemsdyk or Patty Maroon. There's something to be said for the value, right? Even though people would say, I can't believe they're playing that guy $1 million point something dollars. There's a reason for it.
Right.
Maybe he's a little long in the tooth hockey wise, but he's been around the block.
Yeah.
And he's been on Stanley Cup champions on more than one team, mind you, right? Yeah. Oh, one that beat you on home ice back in 2019 in Game 7, where you all crapped your pants.
Yep.
And they skated around with the cup. Patty Maroon was one of those guys.
That was one of those guys.
So you can't underestimate that. And I don't think Brad Marchand has that sounding board or that person.
It's the soft people skills, so to speak. This is going to sound ridiculous, but like more of the warm fuzzy. I think that Chara was both, and he brought that from Ottawa, from Daniel Alfredson. And so Chara was both the physical juggernaut of intensity and commitment to the craft, but he also is still someone who is a very caring, how do I even describe it? Again,
there's a one-on-one aspect to it, right? Like you need to be like I said this about so that's how I feel about Derek Lalonde. He's a great to me he's a great assistant coach. He was with John Cooper with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and John Cooper goes in and says, "You guys are all fucking idiots. Are you fucking serious?" And he loses his shit. And then when he walks out that locker room, he goes to Lalonde. He says, "All right, pep him up."
That's the good cop, bad cop.
Powder their asses, and which is fine. Like, and you need what you need, and you kind of need that firm, but like you need accountability. But like, I know you can get there. Like, and
the person who's like the encourager and the heart to hearts, right? And then. So
which Montgomery could be, in my opinion. Like Montgomery was a good assistant coach.
They beat him down.
That's an assistant coach job. That's a hey guys.
Yeah, that's what an assistant coach is.
That's hey guys, listen. He ran you down. We're going to work on the power play and show them that we can do this. Right? He's a great support.
The emotional lift up piece, and like Patrice had that as well, and he was complimented by Brad in the intensity piece, right?
Yeah.
And then, so, this is my bias probably. I still think that Brad Marchand is the absolute right leader for this team, because I do think that he is the embodiment of that team culture, that commitment, the passion, the intensity. The thing that he doesn't have, and he has admitted this publicly, he's like, he's not that warm fuzzies. I'm gonna, because that's just not his personality. And unfortunately, there really doesn't seem to be that type. Well, I like to make also the case for this guy,
Coyle.
Charlie Coyle.
Yeah.
Because I think he probably could have that personality to complement him. And when they had announced the alternate captains, I was surprised that he wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Because he's also known to have a lot of that same intensity and commitment to the craft as Brett Marchand.
Yeah, because right now it's just Pasternak and McAvoy is what I'm seeing right now in Puck Media. So,
and they've changed. Also, the other thing that they did was it used to be, for many years, you'd have your captain, you'd have your number one alternate, who for all intents and purposes, was the one who had the papal blessing, who would likely be expected to become captain next. And that's exactly what happened, from Chara to Bergie to Marshy.
Yeah.
And then the other alternate would rotate among the guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but management decided this time around to give out the letters on a permanent basis. And I think that is a mistake, first and foremost, because you always you always need to recognize the guys who are veterans, who are doing extra, who are showing up,
stepping up.
right?
Yeah.
It's a reward. And you didn't do that. And then questioning their choices.
Well,
overall,
well,
and listen, I mean, we're talking about it like, as if we, changing a letter is going to fix the dynamics of this team, or, the fact that they just don't seem to have any type of like hockey situational awareness with any consistency right now, which is why they find themselves, I don't even know if they're still in a playoff picture after that debacle.
They're not
Columbus Monday night.
They're tied with the New York Islanders, but the New York Islanders have one more game in hand, so they're currently out of it. So
I think that's part of some of the things that we are now questioning as podcasters, as fans, because we just simply can't wrap our head around why this team has been playing as poorly as they're playing, because I've said it once and I've said it 1,000 times. I still think this is a good roster.
Yeah.
It's a good roster that is capable of playing better than they're playing. I don't think it's a roster that is built not to make the playoffs. I think there's enough good, solid hockey talent on this roster. And that's why I keep going back to the point of it. This is not solely a coaching issue. There's a DNA issue going on with this group, because there's clearly a lack of chemistry and communication at a minimum on the ice. I don't know outside of the ice or in the room, but it's glaring to me on the ice.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing that with the Detroit Red Wings too. There is the Red Wings go on a 4-game road trip. They beat Pittsburgh. Great. Then they go to California. They lose to the Anaheim.
Right?
Everyone.
They lost to everyone, right?
Everybody. Yeah.
Oh.
They got an overtime loss to San Jose. Who freaking who? So the first game. So I go in. I say if they lose all 3 games, it is because I was not in the fire alone. I was in the. I can see it. But it was we lose 6-4 to the Ducks. One was empty net, but you lose. I think it was 3-1 or 3-0 to the. It was 3-0 to the LA Kings. Then you lose 5-4 in overtime. By the way,
sounds familiar.
Yeah. 10:30. By the way, 10:30 start here in Detroit. I stayed up till 1:30 and watched that game. I was
God bless
furious.
you.
I was furious. It was killer.
Even when they were good, I can't.
You know what's funny is and I know we talked about this before. By the way, the reason I call this Undrafted Hockey Fan is I like talk about all the teams. So I did a video on my favorite 5 retools right now. Like I want to talk about every team, which is why I like bringing on the people as well. Red Wings have been my favorite focus, but like I'm a huge Sharks fan. I have an Erik Karlsson jersey. He's my favorite player outside. He's my favorite player outside of the Red Wings. Moritz Seider is right now. And then I also a Dallas Stars fan. So it's nice because those 2 are in the Western Conference. I don't have to worry about it unless it's the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
But I remember this because and by the way, it's so funny that we talk about like teams having your number. Last year I went to the Sharks game and Red Wings were up 5-0 and going and I was like, I'm wearing my Sharks jersey because I'm like, I only see them once. I was like, I gotta wear my Sharks jersey. And I'm like, because I'm so excited to see Erik Karlsson and everything. And then I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, I don't have a good feeling with this game. She's like, don't say that. I'm like, they're up 5-0. She's like, they're up 5-0. Like, what do you mean? And I watched San Jose crawl back and beat them 6-5.
Oh,
and I was like, I paid for this ticket.
Yeah.
like I paid for this. I watched this. And I'm like walking out of with my Sharks jersey and I'm kind of like, Is the green noticeable?
Ah!
I was like ashamed. Like I was like, because I was excited for both teams. I was like, this
There
is
you
just
go.
not. And of course, it worked out for the Sharks. They got Celebrini, right? And
Yeah.
they won that game. They still got Celebrini. So, so yeah, that's something that like so. And we're talking about the loan, by the way. It is disheartening, and it's
Yeah.
And so Brad Crisco of the Wingbill podcast talks about this. There's about 5 different bullets that a GM/coach can do to kind of change the dynamic of the team. One is you waive a roster player. They end up waiving Justin Hall. Argument, I can talk about that signing all day, but he's actually looking okay this year. He actually looks like a 5'6" defenseman, which is we'll take.
Right.
Yeah. You waive Billy Husso. No one picked up the contract. He's still in the AHL. He got called up on emergency service conditions, but he's back in the AHL. So that's you can waive a roster player. You can scratch a roster player. They brought in Eric Gustafson, who's supposed to be your Shane Gostisbehere replacement. Out of 17 games, he's played 9. You're telling me, and he's on a 2-year contract, and you're scratching this guy? It just tells you the performance is not there. And they also and Jeff Petrie, they scratch him too, a veteran player. Like,
yeah.
By the way, no one's so you say your players, no one's safe on this roster. You're like, okay. And then so you're like, okay, well, let's kind of shake it up again. You can make a trade. They trade Ole Mata.
They did, yes. They were the first trade of the year, weren't they?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Well, and they took. I think they did a really good job. Steve Eisman did a good job taking advantage of Utah's situation and sending out a guy who's on an expiring deal for $3 million a year for a 3rd-round pick. I mean, which ended up working out because it made more time for Albert Johansson, who is on a minimum league contract. He just graduated the AHL, so and they play a similar role. So it allows you get the younger player gets a little bit more time, which is great. So good move, but again, no one's job is safe. And then you're like, okay, well, here's another shakeup. You bring up young kids. Now you have Marco Kasper, who's now playing this. Lines look like for tomorrow. He's going to play 2C with Patrick Kane and Tarasenko. And this guy's really, I mean, on a cup team, he's a 3C. He's got that gritty kind of, by the way, he'd be a great Bruin. He's like he's tough and he's gritty and he's down the net and he plays tough. And it's great. He's going to be a great, he doesn't have the high end skill. He's probably a 60-point guy, but he's a grinder kind of good center in that. I'm really excited about him.
Well, that's how Mark
do you feel about
is endearing himself until he got,
how do you feel about Trent Frederick? You want him?
Yeah. You want Freddie? I'll give him to you for a bag of. I'll give him to you for I don't know what.
A bag of pucks?
A pizza. One of your famous pizzas from Detroit.
I just had Detroit. I just had Buddy's Detroit pizza today. A guy from Ohio. I brought him up and I was like, hey man, you gotta try this. Yeah, no, I agree. So what is this hate with? Oh, so let me finish my because I want to talk about Trent Frederick as well. So you bring up a young guy. You're like, hey guys. By the way, the 2nd line center is now playing the 4th line center. Like you're shaking this thing up, and these lines look crazy. And then the last thing you can do is you can make a trade for a player, right? So picking up I know Rasmus Anderson has been talked about in there as well. Maybe a little higher in skill, right? Just to kind of change it up because the Red Wings are currently 7-9-2. So you're not looking. I think it's 7-9-2. Yeah, 7-9-2. So you're under Gary Bettman 500 right now, and so yeah, I heard someone say that and I corrected it, and it is true. It's Gary Bettman 500, and so there's only so many bullets you have left, and the only last thing Steve Eisman does have is to fire the coach. That's the shakeup you have, and that's why it does feel. And again, similar situation, he doesn't have a contract next year. And
I wonder if we're going to see more firings very shortly.
Oh yeah,
because Boston kind of broke the seal.
He was the first domino,
and a guy's available, a good guy. Right.
And they're like,
not yet. He's been relieved. He has not. His contract is still with the Boston Bruins, so they have to. They're still paying him right now. So the coaching contract. So unless a team comes to Boston, says, hey, we'll give you a little bit to cancel his contract, or because Montgomery's like, well, I'm getting paid either way. So he's like, so Montgomery has to be like, you have to make that if Red Wings want to sign him, they got to make it up to him. Plus, then they have to pay the loan as well to continue. So that's where I don't think Montgomery will be signed unless it's his decision. Like,
Oh, yeah.
genuinely, like he has to really want it. So that's where I don't think he's gonna go.
Interesting.
Like, like I think Buffalo or Detroit would be a good one, because to me, Red Wings are not going to make the playoffs next year either. They're kind of in bubble again, because you don't have enough. The young players aren't here yet, so and they filled in with a lot of UFAs, and a lot of those UFAs are ending next year and the year after. So you kind of get the turnover. The young guys are in the ELCs, and so this is kind of where you get like the goalie tandem. Like the goalies are still in the AHL or university. So there's this is why I talk about it being a rebuild. So you want to bring a guy that's going to last when they start to get good, right? Because that's what ended up happening is that they had Blashill for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fine, but he was there for the rebuild, and he wasn't going to be good. Like it was just, he was a lame duck coach. And then they bring him alone because, hey, he was with Tampa. He won a Stanley Cup. He deserved, but now Red Wings have tried 2 new head coaches, never been the head coaches of an NHL team, and Jeff Blashill and Lalone. So that's where I think they're looking for a veteran guy. And by the way, I love Tortorella.
We talk about him all the time. We want Torts too.
I love Torts.
He's my favorite.
Give me Torts.
He'll fight for a guy. He tried fighting the whole Calgary Flames. Like,
if you're aligned, that's the thing. That's the rub. He will get rid of people. He will push them out if they are not aligned with him. And he is intense, and he's kind of an old school coach.
Yeah.
And for a really long time, I didn't really care for that. But if you're in with him and you're aligned, he will kill for you.
Absolutely.
Out there. Like he's an incredible person. And it's interesting. I didn't know that about Detroit, because I feel like Boston's last 2 coaches, because wasn't Cassidy came from the AHL as well? Wasn't Boston was his first?
That was the whole reason they had him waiting in the wings and looming over Claude Julien's shoulders, because they were running a very specific system down in the NHL, in the AHL, that was proving to be very successful. They were, getting worn down by, trying to win games 0-0, because, there was so much focus on the defensive responsibilities for members of the Boston Bruins. So yes, there was some continuity, right? Because you had some of those younger players. Claude was having a difficult time with some of the younger players.
Yep. Well, so one thing is very interesting, because when the Red Wings had Blashill and their first year of the loan, there was a lot of the systems were not the same in the for the AHL and the NHL. Recently, they hired Dan Watson. It was the year prior, they hired him last year, and now there's a lot of similarities, because Red Wings try to run a defensively responsible defensive system, and the frustrating thing is Red Wings are 3rd in penalty kill or power play, and they're 32nd in penalty kill. So I'm like, what's your defensive system you're running again? Like, and to me, like, I don't know if firing an assistant coach is going to do it enough. It's
always got to be from the top down. Because it has to be. Usually, it's top down to be somewhat systematic to see. So like, I think the thing that for me has been challenging to kind of process, like all of this drama and all of these things that have been happening, it's been hard to fully process, because we've also not had anything to respond to yet, because the Bruins haven't played since the firing. They played on Sunday. He got fired Monday, Tuesday, or what am I getting wrong? Monday. They played Monday. He got fired Tuesday. It's Wednesday. I don't know what day of the week it is. Yeah. And they play tomorrow. So, and that game is gonna tell us a lot. I mean, there's gonna be a bump. There always is. So, like, to see what happens over the next few games, who knows? Maybe more people will get fired. Chris Kelly has got to go.
Yeah.
He's our power play.
I was going to ask. Well,
because you guys are for a long time.
Power play are like 30th, I think, right?
What's in the
league, you're 30th in the power play.
I thought we were lower than that.
Cassidy. So this has been an issue that's been ongoing,
which is crazy.
and
How is that possible? I mean, I looked at Pasternak. He had not last season, the season before, 113 points. How are like? I don't know. Like
they've always, for the last 5 years, they will, sometimes they'll be fine for a while, they'll be average, and then they hit a skid and they just cannot.
which is,
And
by the way, I do kind of,
Kelly,
I kind of live for your misery because again, it's Boston, like so I told my wife I want to get one of every team. She says you can get Boston and Chicago last. Like I was like, because Chicago with the sex scandal, and then
Yeah.
Boston because she's like, fuck Boston. And
everyone,
like,
that's
yeah. You guys
Mm-hmm.
are the big bad wolf. Everyone in the league is waiting for your downfall, and you won't fucking die.
Well, like that's the thing.
Yeah.
With like what we were talking about with the dynasties, right? Like because of the way that the league is structured now, you don't have those dynasties, and you always end up having a team that experiences a rebuild within 10 years. And Boston has never gone through a rebuild since they threw the team out and built it around Patrice Bergeron in 2004, 5, because he came on the scene in 03.
The year they traded Joe Thornton.
It would have been around then because Chara came in 06.
Number 19, Joe Thornton. Again, love for the Sharks. I'll tell you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
No, that's going to go down as one of the worst hockey trades in the history of Boston's. One of the worst trades in the history of Boston sports.
I would say it's probably it's really up there. I mean, he's I mean him. And by the way, thank you also for Tyler Seguin. I appreciate that too.
Oh, I know, right?
I love.
Well,
yeah, I mean, not so much now, but like I'm a huge fan of Tyler Seguin.
Listen, again, another one of those instances where it's like, all right.
Claude couldn't handle the young guys.
No,
and they couldn't have two of them.
And the Bruins totally screwed up his development in terms of, not giving him, the structure and guidance he needed. Patrice Bergeron lived with, oh God, who was it?
Recchi?
No, it wasn't Recchi.
Not Lalonde. Oh my God.
He was French
too. Didn't he have a French name too?
Yeah, he did have a French name. But anyways,
yeah.
Which by the way, Red Wings don't do that, and I'm more mad about that. I don't know how you let the young guys hang. Like I would house a young guy. Like that is huge for mentorship. Like that is, you teach the guys how you want to play. You build the chemistry. That is huge. Like I like so, it should be,
right. Yeah. And there was the incident, was it in Ottawa or Toronto, where he allegedly overslept, and there were all kinds of stories that were coming out.
He's a little shit.
So
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, they had two of them on the team, and they picked one.
Yeah. You right? By the way, it's crazy that you sent out your second overall pick and not instead of the third round guy. I mean, it worked out, right? Like you have
Like
it still worked out, but I'm like
it's crazy.
Your second overall pick, you're gonna trade out? Like, you sure?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what you guys got for him either, but like
a bag of pucks.
A bag of pucks. Okay.
A bag of pucks.
Yep.
Because they took, it sounded like they took the first offer rather than use the kid as
right.
He was the second overall pick.
Yep.
Here's an interesting little thing too. Peter Chiarelli is solely responsible for trading the number 1 overall pick in the draft that year and the number 2. So he traded Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, the Oilers for Adam Larson.
Right?
I know.
Great.
He traded Tyler Seguin for, I can't even remember what the hell. He traded
Tyler Seguin. He sent others with Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it ended up being a second round pick in 2010 was Jared Knight. I'm not sure who he is. And then the 2011 was Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah.
So it was the pick at that time, but it ended up picking Dougie Hamilton with that,
but he also sent with him a fellow college alum of mine to Dallas, Rich Peverly.
Oh no, I read that wrong. I was reading the Phil Kessel deal from
Oh,
Toronto.
Kessel.
That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah. No, yeah, it was Rich Beverly, Ryan Button, and Tyler Seguin, the Dallas Stars for Louis Erickson, Riley Smith, Joe Morrow, and Matt Free. Yeah, a bag of pucks. A bag. I mean, I mean, Louis. I mean, I only know Louis Erickson from his time in Vancouver. You know, I mean, where he was getting paid like a 6x6, and he was terrible. Or no, it was Arizona.
He did some good here. Actually, wasn't there a famous line that Jack Edwards used when referencing Louis Erickson, and then he wound up being a freaking Boston Bruin?
I don't remember this.
I thought that was Pat Maroon that he said he called him fat.
Oh, no, that was a different thing. No, he referred to someone as, the only like number 1 draft pick who's never amounted to anything, and then the guy ends up being a freaking Boston Bruin.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like Jack's luck. So
yeah. I think Eric Johnson has something to say about that as well. So, and Neil Yakupov as well. So, there's thank you for Thornton. Thank you for saying again. It just worked out, and then again I get to see Pavelski play with both of them, which I was very happy with as well.
This year we're calling the Bruins the Get Right team. So if there's anything wrong with your team,
come on down.
Come on down. If you suck on the power play, come and play us, because you're sure to get a power play goal or 2. Right?
No road trip wins. Visit Boston.
Yeah, come to Boston.
Just to let you guys know, so we have the worst power penalty kill in the league. We're playing you guys on Saturday.
Well, guess what? You're about to get a lot better.
What's gonna win? Our shitty penalty kill or your shitty power play? So we'll find out. So
should we make a friendly wager on that?
Yeah.
Back after that game?
Using DraftKings.
Thank you for sponsoring us, DraftKings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious because to me it feels like the Boston Bruins are doing what Ken Holland did near the end of the time with the Red Wings, where you're trying to hold on to something that is not necessarily there anymore.
The old golden era. Brad's the last one. Brad's the last one.
Well, and this is kind of where this is kind of where from the outside perspective, yours is not. I put a lot on Cam Neely and Sweeney, but is it Jeremy Jacobs making some of these decisions
Jeremy doesn't own the team anymore. Jeremy doesn't own the team anymore.
Oh, it's the kid, right?
The kids.
Charlie.
Okay, you're telling me that rocking chair isn't swinging back and forth every Boston's game, and he's saying fire him. He trade him, he's.
So there is no appetite as much as fans have been saying the last couple of days, and again, we're passionate reactionary fans, right? At this point, and I've seen this a lot on social media. At this point, clean house. Do a clean sweep of your roster. Make some trades, get some draft picks, rebuild. That all sounds beautiful if you're building a fantasy hockey team. But this is real stuff where there is an ownership group that has a financial expectation, because I'm not convinced that they are as committed to sincerely winning a Stanley Cup as I would like them to be.
They're not a Stanley Cup contender. They haven't been a Stanley Cup contender. Even when they played, they played the phenomenal season. They're in contention, right? They're in a contention of a playoff spot. To me, I still have the same forwards before: Tampa, Toronto, Florida, Boston as making the playoffs, as my predictions. But I didn't see them as a threat. I had them at 4th. I just thought it was. And they were arguing with Tampa. At least Tampa's doing something as well. You bring in a guy like Jake Gensel, who is a game breaker type guy.
Yep.
Lindholm he can't drive a line. He can't, he's not. To me, Red Wings were calling for, they're like, Comfer's not a 2C. I said, I don't think Lindholm is what you need either. I was saying, don't sign Lindholm for the Red Wings. And we're a rebuilding team. So, and I'm like, and Boston goes on to do that. And then same with Zadorov. You give, I think it was $5.5 million for 6 years. I'm pretty sure it was, for a
6
third,
years,
my opinion, third pair defenseman. He is a great, tough defenseman. And maybe I'm blind to it, but to me, Zadorov was a great energy third pair defenseman on a playoff team. I'll say it, but like he's not really a point producer. He's good, but to me it didn't make sense to me. It was too much for Zadorov. It's probably properly for Lindholm, but again, I just don't think he was the player that you need. It's the same way that when Islanders traded for Bo Horvat, I was like, you trade for Bo, like Bo Horvat is. I mean, he plays okay. He's just not like that. He's not that dynamic player. JT Miller, controversial, dynamic player, right? You know, like you need dynamicism, and that's where I was like, I just don't see these guys as them. Like I would have gave Zadorov like a $3 million by 4 years, like, but I'm not giving. That was way too expensive.
And I don't know why they spent the money on a defenseman. I understand why they were attracted to him for his size, because Boston's trying to get out from under a bunch of players who were just too small and couldn't, play against an Atlantic division that was physically smothering them. But so that was confusing to me. I'm puzzled by Lindholm, because a lot of the, we did our homework going into the season, and he's not playing his game right now.
He is struggling.
He we called the episode New Man in the Bumper, because that's where he has historically played. That's the role we want, because we got rid of JVR, so we didn't have a bumper man. Patrice Bergeron left. He left the bumper open. Like that's the style of play that the Bruins produce on the ice, and they need someone there, and he's not there. And so who knows why, but that was what the hope was, and it hasn't happened.
Lindholm, to me, hasn't produced the way he needed. Like even like that half part season of Calgary that he was there before he went to Vancouver last year. Like he wasn't looking like himself. Then they did Vancouver trades for him. They liked him so much they tried to trade him again. Like it was like I was like, you're trying to move off an asset that you paid too much for.
But didn't he have a good playoff run for them?
He did. I thought they did try to keep him.
Were very well. He did very well in the playoffs for them.
Let me pull it up, because I didn't have that same vibe. Maybe I'm missing. He has 9 points in 20 games right now.
Yeah, well, they're all like that. That's the thing, right?
There's no single person.
He had 10 points in 13 games, so he did play well there. But if I'm going to go out and pay for a guy like that, I need consistent I don't want a project. I don't want to pay a 28-year-old a 7-year-long contract for a guy that's flaming out. You see, in Vancouver, he had 12 points, 26 games, 32 points in 49 games with the Flames before he got traded. That's a 65 point pace. I'm like, and the year before that, 64 points in 80. Before that, a point per game. Like I just didn't think he was I thought he had a great support cast when he was with Tkachuk and Gaudreau and all that stuff. But like, again, he's an extra. He's an extra. He's not like the guy. And I think that's where I'm kind of
the guy.
That's where I'm starting to lose is I'm looking for, when I look at the Red, like, and I'm starting to see the Red Wings, and you're only seeing it with the young guys, really. Raymond, the guy. Larkin, the guy. Ryder, the guy. Edmondson's taking up, the guy. Casper is working so hard, the guy. These high energy, high compete, and I'm not seeing the high compete. And that's where, again, Zadorov does give that, but again, he high compete, not enough skill to do it though. And Lindholm, I think, has some skill. But that's what I always thought. It's Bruins hockey is high energy, high compete, and I'm not seeing that.
We've seen small sample sizes of it. We've seen small sample sizes of it, but we haven't. There is an inability to do it for a full 60 minutes and to do it consistently. Now, we thought the team was somewhat out of the woods. Where was it last week or the week before that they played 2 games and they had shutout wins in both games. So each goalie pitched a shutout, and we thought, okay, this is going to be right.
We thought Carolina was the rock bottom.
The rock bottom.
We were wrong.
And we were wrong. We were wrong. And you know, so we're still trying to figure out who this team really is. Is it a good team that can play competitively with the higher talent in the league, the Carolinas, the Dallases? We haven't even seen the New York Rangers yet, so I don't even know what they could do to us. But then when you see them struggling or losing to teams, right? Because you look at certain rosters and, you know, the development of teams, and you're like, right, you should be able to beat a struggling Flyers team. Yeah, not so much. Columbus Blue Jackets, not so much. Not so much. Okay,
float away.
The Ottawa Senators. I knew that was
coming, though.
Yeah, the Ottawa Senators. So we don't know what this team is yet, and we're 20 games in.
Yeah,
we're 20 games in. So tomorrow night, my view is fresh. I'm looking at tomorrow night as the start of a new season.
Yep.
The start of a new season and a reset. And okay, if you lose 3-2, 5-4, I'm not going to kill you for it if I see that you're playing 60 minutes, you're fighting to win puck battles. Your special teams is working to some degree. Right. Then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to give myself a glimmer of hope.
Do you think, I mean, because Swayman hasn't been good. Korpisalo has been the better goalie. Which is and I believe, and I think that some of you guys talked about in your last episode, was that I think training camp is more important than people give it. I think you guys talked about the camaraderie of being with the boys. You know, like you're spending every day with each other. You're going out. You're working. It's, to me, training camp is kind of like where you see the military. Guys are going through tough, hard things together, and you're getting your ass handed to you, and which is a good thing. And you're getting conditioned, and you're throwing up, and it's part of you build that camaraderie together. And I think because you guys have a cocky goaltender, and the Red Wings have the same guy in the prospect, and if you look up Sebastian Cossa, he looks kind of similar to
Swayman. Yeah,
he does. He's a BC kid, so not Alaska, but just south of that.
I don't mind if you're cocky as long as you back it up. I have no.
And that's what he got the contract for, and he played well, and he's played well. But I mean, the Leafs talk about it all the time. William Nylander had a hard start when he finally signed a contract in December, last minute, and he joins the team. You missed part of the season.
You missed part of being a part of the team. It's like
it's a workplace still, right?
Orientation. You're at camp. There is such a thing as group dynamics and team building and team bonding. Like those are very real things. They're not, fluffy, whatever pseudoscience stuff. Like it's a thing.
There's been a lot of speculation over the last few days about the detrimental impact that may have had.
You don't know. I think
also there's just a lot of people are speculating, right? But Pluto Shinzawa, who writes for The Athletic, wrote something recently to the effect that if Jeremy Swayman doesn't start playing better, he may lose some of the few friends he still has in that locker room. So, take that however way you want to parcel it out. But, that's why I'm saying I think it's deeper than just a coaching issue.
So to me, I talked about this before. To me, going back to, there's an old guard. And to me, Swayman is part of the new guard, and so you're see you and he's part of the Beechers. He's part of. I mean, you bring in. I'm looking at your guys' right now. Like I actually like you guys. But Lori, Morgan Geeky. Like I like those like these younger guys. Morgan Geeky was a great. I'm jealous of that pickup, by the way. That was I like Morgan Geeky a lot. So I don't know how well he's playing, but I liked him when I think he was
not this year. He's not great.
No.
Last year, he was good last year.
He's been scratched at least 3 times already this season.
Wow, okay,
right.
I was jealous. Okay, well, I guess that it was a proven deal.
He's got whatever the malaise is that all the other ones have. So
the malaise is very contagious. It's running rampant in the Bruins locker room.
Do you know? Do you know who So it's funny. Like I think some of the So Red Wings seeing this right now. That they lost a lot of personality, and that is hard for a team that is so quiet, and you have a quiet leader like Dylan Larkin, and you're missing guys. So they lose David Perron to free agency. They trade out Jake Wallman, which is which I could complain about that. Don't even start on that one. But Jake Wallman had a ton of personality. Love or hate the gritty. It's personality, right? Love or hate the Michigan, the Zegras does. It's personality, right? Like. Right. There is something to bringing that. It's a fun. It's a little bit like a little kind of in your face type thing. I think, and so Red Wings also moved on from Daniel Sprong as well.
Right.
And I think that is a pickup for you guys that I think would be a good one. A depth guy, kind of got a little shit. And again, there's talks about like him having a little locker room issue. But I think you guys need to shake up the locker room. And I think that the coach does something. But I used to be a teacher. And if there's, you kind of have, there's some kids that led the classroom, and you're like, I got to work with the kid. And as again, I'm the head coach of the classroom. Like you have to kind of, hey man, I know, dude, you're a great guy. I need you because people look to you. You're a leader, and you kind of hype them up.
Yeah, harness
that. Hey, listen, yeah. Like you need you kind of have to. Hey, I'm not working against you. I'm working with you, man. Like people listen to you, and you kind of like you pep them up and everything. And yeah. People do listen to me. He's like, dude, like so when I ask, I'm saying, hey man, hook me up. Like type thing, and I'm like help me out, like help me help you. And he's like, hey guys, call people up to like get go. It's like you kind of got to work with. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if I feel that, and I don't feel that I don't feel like that in the Red Wings locker room. I don't know if I basically, and you guys are like, I don't know, are these people, are they friends? Like who are the friends on the Bruins?
Yeah, I mean, so I also am the one who follows them all on the social medias, and then I tell everyone in the Discord, this is what they're all doing right now.
Yeah. Because they're not having fun.
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious at this point, and that's something that Charlie McAvoy said today in post-practice scrum, where he's like, I got to come, with the joy, because I think it's a whole host of things. When you're not doing well and you just keep getting discouraged and feeling defeated, you lose that spark and that joy. And that also can seep into the locker room culture, no matter how hard you try to have a really positive culture. If you're constantly losing and you just feel terrible.
Yeah.
When you're not having fun at work, it's hard to get excited about going to work.
Yes. Yep. And it's hard to do a good job
until they start having fun again, which means winning games.
Yep.
Right.
Team builders.
They're right. And there's been a lot of talk about, they need to close, bring in buckets of wine, close the locker room door.
Yeah.
Have their kumbaya moments, right? And we hear about that.
Man, I love you, man. I love you so much, dude. It's my boy, dude.
Players only meetings, that type of thing. But
well, they could. You never know. Didn't they do Maria? That trip up to Lake Placid. When was that? Do you remember that? I mean, it was ages ago.
That was ages ago.
In the cup run.
They went to
and you need someone. It's loosen up. Have some fun. It's Boston. You have a ton of fun, dude.
And it's not fun to watch.
Well, and there's that's why I thought about this California trip and this being out there. I was like, dude, it's California. Get some sun, get some rays. go to LA, have a little fun, like do something cool and
Mhm.
fun. And I was like, okay, well, like that should have happened and changed the dynamic of the team. And the dynamic of the team changed. It just didn't change for the better, you know?
Uh-oh.
And so, yeah. So,
Well, and I was excited about, they had like a 3-game road trip in mid-October where they went to Colorado,
Yep.
then
mini trip.
Utah, and then Nashville. And I
Yeah.
thought, this is awesome
Yep.
to have a
Perfect.
trip like this, right? With, some new members of the team, some of the younger guys, some of
Away
the
from
core
the
guys.
families, you can just
Away, that is exactly what I
Yep.
said. Away from, your personal responsibilities and obligations, and
Mhm.
just hang out with the guys.
Yep.
And there was an event planned while they were in Utah. There was a big golf outing planned
Oh, yeah.
that the whole team was going to participate in, and the weather didn't cooperate. So only like 5 or 6 of the guys actually went. I don't know what, right? So maybe it didn't turn
that's
into
bad.
what my expectation was.
Right.
But it's that's
I
a
didn't want to
lack
play
of
golf in the rain. You know what? As a golfer myself, I think I would have said, "Yeah, hell no, I'm not playing in the rain."
Oh,
But
see, I'm a yes man.
Yeah.
I'm yeah. My
Well,
friend,
that's why all the baby players went. That's
yeah,
who went.
well, that's
Yeah,
what
that's who
that's what I'm
went.
saying. Like my wife and I talk.
Did.
My wife, we have a friend who like he called. You know, we don't really talk to him much, and he goes, "Hey, I just want to invite you to like a Tigers game." And like he's like, "You guys are our friends that like you guys say yes." And my wife and I were like, "Thanks," and we're always down. We're always gonna
Yeah.
try. Like
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
that's something that I absolutely. I'm like, totally, I'll totally do it. So
Yeah.
Well,
so yeah.
we'll see what happens. I mean,
We shall
as much
see.
as I am going to hold Sweeney and Neely accountable, I do put a lot of this malaise on the players themselves. These are all
Yep.
professional players. They've
Yep.
all played in any number of, stressful, high intensity hockey situations. And, the fact remains that they are doing uncharacteristic things on the ice that leave your head scratching going, what the hell is it? So, at this point, if things don't get better, Sweeney did say not only is he holding himself accountable,
Yeah.
he's holding the players accountable now too. And there will be continued changes across the board.
Yep.
So because I think he realizes he's on the hot seat, and the reason he is on the hot seat is if the fan base loses interest in this product and people are not going into the building, or ticket prices are going, for $30, $40, $50.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
And they're empty. Listen, I just heard someone on local sports talk radio not too long ago, earlier this week, said he picked up tickets to a game for $50.
Stop. I need to tell my husband to
Okay,
get
for
$50.
So that's when ownership will.
We can get it. By the way, we can get it on resale market for like $33 here. Like it is very cool.
We
like
paid
it is
$280 a ticket for resale. We were the second to last row in the nosebleeds.
Get out of here.
Oh,
we bought 3 tickets.
I can't even tell you what my daughter has gotten for selling season tickets. We're in the balcony.
It sounds like I need to buy Boston season tickets just to
we're in the balcony.
On the
just to turn them around.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
they've gotten more savvy though. They're very tricky about how many tickets they'll let you sell before they can pull your tickets. So it's gotten much more difficult, right? So you have to be very careful about posting your tickets and what you're posting them for.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap seat. The long story, it's not a cheap seat. But if the butts aren't in the seat and the building isn't full, that's when management or ownership will take matters
says,
into
hey.
their own hands. So
Well,
we'll
I
leave
would
you
say
with that.
this would be a good time for ownership to revamp, though, because you're getting new ownership. You can kind of rebuild. I don't know. Is TD Garden old? I don't know.
By arena
Well,
standards,
it's having its birthday. 30 years. 30 years.
So you guys are probably in. Are you guys? Is there talks of a new stadium then?
No, there's no place to.
No. They just signed an agreement to stay in the North End, but they've had some zhuzhing over the years.
I mean, you know, they've added some seating and stuff, and the Jacobs family has built a lot around the TD Garden that they've invested in. So I don't think that building is going anywhere. And even if they wanted it to go anywhere, there is no place in the city of Boston to put another arena.
Really?
It is like.
Do the Celtics play there too?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
They're tenants. They are tenants in the building.
See, Red Wings own the Little Caesars Arena. So because they own Little Caesars and they own the Tigers and they own the Red Wings. So it ends up being like
Little Caesars.
Yeah, they do. Do you guys have Little Caesars?
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, I do. I live in New York.
No, I don't think we do. If we do, I don't know where it is.
I'm just realizing Little Caesars is bigger than I thought it was because it started in Michigan. That's why I wasn't sure.
Oh, I grew up with Little Caesars and I'm from Central New York. So
really? Okay.
Yeah.
To me,
now
it's
I want pizza before I go to bed. Thanks.
Pizza.
Pizza. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So
that's why I can't stand it. Then when I see the pizza on, well, I guess they're not a sponsor. No, they're not a sponsor anymore of the Leafs. Were they a sponsor for some other Canadian team? And I would see because there's a franchise called Pizza, and so Little Caesars can't use that in Canada.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh,
they see it. And I'm like, pizza.
Yeah. No, which is crazy. Like you think they should be able to
weird.
Because I don't know. I don't know trade. I'm not a patent lawyer, so I could not tell you. So no worries. Well, let's. I mean, we've been going an hour and 51 minutes.
I know.
I told you.
I could go all night. I know.
We can do it. I actually might split this into 2 episodes because it's because I mean one I'm doing so much content. 2,
I know. We need to spread it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Spread the love. Exactly. Yeah, spread the love.
Absolutely. So tell the people where we can find you. Tell me your Twitters, your BlueSkys, your podcast. Tell the people.
Yeah.
So I'm on Twitter, Maria or X, whatever.
It's Twitter. It's
I
Twitter.
still call it Twitter.
It's Twitter.
I'm Maria of H2O Town, and we also have a show account on the X platform, which is called Tape to Tape. We're also
Tape to Tape MK in all of the
all of it in to find us.
Okay.
So at Twitter, BlueSky, and TikTok.
You can get us on Apple,
TikTok, look at you two.
Spotify. Yeah, this one here, she's like the tech guru. She's the brains behind the operation. I just shoot my mouth off, and she does.
I love that.
So we have a YouTube channel. That one's Bruins Tape to Tape, and then I'm on Mastodon and Threads. Yeah. I don't know if it says. I don't know if the banner is showing up, but it's spelled with a K. And then it's spelled _. If
you need to check it out, so both of their handles will be in the description if you need to check. If you want to follow them on the respective platforms, that'd be phenomenal. Again, we appreciate you guys coming on. It was a great conversation. Love to have you on again.
Yeah, of course.
Happy to do it. Yeah.
I think
when you guys get a new coach, we'll talk about when you guys hire Montgomery.
We'll do a live.
Yeah. But I can just start spiraling too. So like I said, I just think this is a new season is what that's the so absolutely.
Yep.
So
yeah. I mean, you have to, right? Because otherwise it's gonna be miserable.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's 80 games. So it's a long season,
right? It's a long, yes.
So,
but I will tell you, we've had more concrete, tangible topics to talk about in this already 20-game season of our podcast than we have had in the last 2 seasons, simply because we're like, this team is rolling. Like we don't even know. Like we were trying to find things to find fault with, right? To put out episodes. Whereas this year it's like Jesus, we're already exhausted 20 games in.
Yeah.
I know. Roll the roulette wheel. Who do we talk about today?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Like I said, you guys have plenty of content to do. Well, start talking about start looking at UFAs now at this point, right? I mean, start like, you have to think there's got to be you're almost in a playoff spot, so there's still some good there. At least you're not. I think the Red Wings are tied for 16th in the conference. So there is the other side. Hey, don't worry. You get to look forward to it. I'm sure. Once I hopefully I don't even know if actually Jeremy Jacobs' family's not going to let you guys go through a rebuild. So I mean, it's just going to be perpetual trying to keep in the playoffs.
There's no. I
not
would,
anymore.
Yes.
Nope.
It's not.
Charlie won't.
Charlie won't. No.
The other one didn't care. So
yeah. So it's and if you're listening to this on Bruins Tape to Tape, it's Undrafted Hockey Fan. I'm on X, I'm on BlueSky, and YouTube is my big. I'm a big fan of YouTube, so definitely go check that out there, and Apple and Spotify as well. So appreciate you ladies coming on. So we'll definitely Red Wings again. First meeting is this Saturday, and there's 3 more games to that, so we'll have to do a preview or an after. I don't want to do it afterwards because I'll be honest, I think
I'll be asleep.
So yeah. So we'll end up doing this. Maybe we can do a preview of the day before or something like that. We'll have time to watch it and everything. So I appreciate you coming on. It's great meeting you.
Teams will be on an upward trajectory by that time.
Crossing our fingers, right? So appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.